We'd love you to call on this. Today marks the beginning of what the government have dubbed Small Boats Week, with the first set of asylum seekers potentially moving onto that Dorset barge. A host of new immigration policies dominate the front pages, including a crackdown on employers and landlords who exploit migrants. But it's a plan to send them to a remote volcanic island in the South Atlantic that has caused the biggest issue. So it is Ascension Island. Let's just go and have a look at it. It's not part of the UK, but it is a British overseas territory. So let's have a look at where it is on the map of the world. And crucial to say, we've got Africa here and Central South America there. It's right in the middle. South Atlantic, you'd say. And if we zoom in, we can see it is pretty barren, all right? There are about 800 people here, but no what you might call indigenous local population. They're all people who work there or their families. They do have a cinema, and a national park. If we focus in here, we'll see the T3 cinema is there, right? So there are some facilities. There's a gym. There might even be a spa, but there's not a whole lot going on. And as I say, no permanent residents. Everyone is sort of flying in and out. Military base, RAF, US Air Force and so on. European Space Agency, rocket tracking station there. Temperatures across the year, 20 degrees to 38 degrees. Wet season, January to April. Let's just have a look at how far this is from the UK, right? So I'll put a little marker here if I can, and we'll start just using the crosshair. So to the coast of Africa, 1,200 miles, okay? Then up across the Sahara, through Europe, and up we go to Britain. And it's a long way from us. It's nearly 4,300 miles, and there's no hospital on it. And of course, if you live there and in any capacity and you're told lots of migrants are coming, you might worry, I guess, Ava, about facilities.
Yeah. I mean, just leaving aside the morality of all of it for one moment, this plan was actually looked at by Priti Patel in 2020, and the Home Office and the Foreign Office decided it was unworkable. It'd be unfeasible to transport potential asylum seekers 4,000 miles, particularly because it's very difficult to get to. It's an island in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't have the infrastructure to take big planes. It's also got no hospital, as you mentioned, and it's got no other kind of facilities. If you want to get bedding there, you want to get food there, staff there, they've all got to come on a plane. Now, we've given £140 million to Rwanda, right, to a plan that is unworkable. I think if you are the public sitting at home today, you're going to look at this and you're going to go, this is not going to work, and it's going to be a huge waste of taxpayer money.
Mike Parry.
Well, I think there's too much defeatism in the whole of the policy designed to deal with the asylum seekers who are coming to this country. 15,000 already this year, OK? So something's got to be done. So I'm encouraged that the government are still looking to try and resolve it. You know, the situation with Rwanda is going to be solved hopefully in October, because we're hoping a Supreme Court judgment then will say, yes, it can go ahead. But if not, I'm delighted to see the government have a backup plan here. Also today...
And they go there for processing, right? So then the question is, when you say a backup plan, if they then are processed as having a rightful claim or maybe even no claim, where do they go after that? That's what I can't work out.
Because you've got to develop the plan. You've got to develop it. I mean, look, the asylum situation's got to be dealt with. New communities sprouting up somewhere else will grow. That's what's happened in the history of the world, in the history of man. Yes, you will. The first settlers who went across the Atlantic to New England started settlements which grew and grew, and it is what it is today.
So it will become a separate country, you think?
Well, it may not become a separate country, but it could become a protectorate. And if it's a protectorate, because it belongs to us, as you quite rightly say, those people are safe.
What's about that? I've heard of that before, that idea.
I mean, that's an absolutely ridiculous idea. That was the idea that was pitched for Rwanda as well. I mean, let's not be silly. But also, it's important to remember that the government's new illegal immigration bill that is still going through, or the act that they've, recently brought in, would actually be incompatible with this plan. Because if you have travelled here by small boat, you are automatically refused right to asylum. That is what the plan is going to entail. This plan that they've brought out this morning is suggesting that you're going to go to an island for processing. Those two things are incompatible.
They're not incompatible.
No. They actually are on paper. They actually are.
Work way around it, though, couldn't you? You could say, look, if you're in, yes, you're not allowed to stay in Britain unless you are processed through Ascension Island. They can work out a way around it.
That is not what is on paper. And what's important to remember here is that this just feels to me, over the weekend, we heard that Tory MPs and constituencies were asking for red meat policies to get them through the next election. They wanted, a bit of mudslinging to the voters. And I'm sorry, this is an example of that.
But Ava, what's the alternative? Honestly, when people with your opinions, which I respect, say it's unworkable, it's not going to work. That's all you ever say. What's the alternative?
A processing centre in Calais. That's what you need. That would tackle all... Yes.
Well, how would you get them to do that?
This was actually offered by Macron a few years ago. It was offered to sit down with Priti Patel and Boris Johnson because, do you know why, Mike? Because then it would solve the issue. None of these people in the Home Office care about the number of people who are crossing.
They do.
They don't care about...
If you're saying deadbeat policies,
they don't care about the smugglers. They don't care about the humanity that's involved in this, because if they did, they would put a processing centre in Calais and they would shut off that travel, like, completely. They would just shut it off.
Well, that's a good thought, Mike, that we're being played here because the government wants us to focus on migrants, the shiny object.
Yes.
To take our minds off everything else that's gone wrong.
No, I don't
everything
agree.
else.
If you go and talk to the public about the things they're most worried about, the asylum seekers is always in the top three. It's what everybody's worried about, because you've got to remember people...
But they've engineered that.
No. People in communities in this country are worried their communities are going to be distorted and changed because of the influx of other people coming in. It's happened throughout history and they're worried about it. The point with this is that if people come here and they know there's a possibility you'll go Rwanda, there's a possibility you might go to Ascension Island, there's a possibility you'll end up on a barge, and I think they're going to start filling the barges up today, then at least you know what you're letting yourself in for. We're being absolutely honest to those who try to come to Britain to seek a new life. And I think it's a great way forward. I have always advocated the idea of using a Scottish island.
OK, but on honesty, right? OK, let's actually look at how we're being told, the sort of people that are coming over here. We're not talking about the fact that most of them are Afghans. They're coming from Afghanistan.
They're not mostly Afghans.
No. The Home Office's own figures this morning actually say that.
We had a big Albanian proportion.
Yeah, but the asylum
Romanian.
seekers, it's Afghans. And then after that, it's Turkish, and they've just suffered that huge earthquake. Now, you would be hard-pressed to find a British soldier that would not argue that Afghans need safe passage away from the Taliban into the country.
Mike, look at this picture of the Ascension Island.
Yes.
Where the hell are you going to put people to live there?
Well, as I've said, communities develop, don't they? If you start a new community, if you start a new outpost,
or something,
if you offer somebody an opportunity to build your own future. I've said in the past that asylum seekers who come here, if they agreed to take a government grant of X £1,000 and then contribute to the development of a community where they could live, that's the best thing to do.
OK, you might even agree on that. That's a whole separate thing.
Yeah.
Julia in Leicester, hi.
Him.
Hey, Julia.
Hello.
What do you want to say?
I've got to say loads now.
OK, who do you disagree with then?
Gosh, well, processing in Calais, that makes sense. Absolutely. Mike saying new communities will grow, but also they don't grow, and they can also end up in mutiny. So he's right and wrong there. And also, as something you said, Jeremy, taking our minds off what is really concerning us is a valid point. So now I'm absolutely stirred up. I'm really stirred up.
You've been waiting on the phone to say something, and then we've distracted you here. But basically, Mike's point is they've got to do something, Julia. They've got to do something.
Yeah, we do have to, but we are talking about, shipping them off. We don't say it's Mohammed or Hamza. We don't give them names, the men or women. It's predominantly men. We're talking about shipping them off like they're some sort of parasite, and they're not. In this country, I'll give you my age because I'm in my 50s. In this country, we need volunteers. We need more people working and contributing. And we don't seem to have this worldwide, we don't seem to have this policy, right, if some people arrive in Australia, if some people arrive in Calais, if some people arrive in Great Britain, what are we going to do to integrate them? And what are we going to do to help our economy as well? Because it's a two-way
All right,
system.
Mike.
But Julia, if we have a processing centre in Calais, which Ava suggested and you've agreed with, that's all very well. But what do you do when they've been processed?
I agree with it.
We already know that it's a big strain on the resources we already have in this country, and we have to try and stop an influx of people for whom there are no resources.
Yeah, but we're not doing anything in the other side, prevention. These people who are risking their lives are coming to safety for whatever reason, and you did raise it that you.
Well, hang on. We talked about Afghanistan. I think we did quite a lot there. If you look at it, good or bad, we did quite a lot there. I mean, they had the Taliban, and we got kicked out, and now they're back.
Absolutely,
and 20 years of work.
I agree with you there, but I think it doesn't help when the terminology in the newspaper and the news is them.
OK, Julia, thank you. Thank you so much.